Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a beard trim demo. These are the tools that I am going to be using, except for one exception. Yep, here we go, right into it. This is going to be the eyeshadow as well as the brush that I use to visually outline the area in which I'm going to not actually shave, but pluck when it comes to longer lasting effects. Not only do I want to have a really clean line at the top of the cheek, but I want to make sure that the effects last as long as possible. So anywhere that is above or even included in this line of white eyeshadow, the eyeshadow is from Ben. The brush is a pencil type brush, so it's not for blending, it's really more so for exact placement. Everywhere that you see in the white line, the eyeshadow as well as above it is going to be what I'm going to be plucking. I put the brush in my mouth to kind of see if from left to right it is equal. Of course, now I have to go to the other side and try to make it match. As we get further into the video, I realize that it doesn't exactly match, and that is my fault as a fallible human, but I know that it is at least a little bit more crisp when it comes to the line above the beard. So here again, outlining above on the left hand side of my face to make sure that anything that is contained within the white eyeshadow and above is going to be what we take out later on in the process. Again, brushing the mouth to try to equal it out, even though, you know, it is a process, it's not always going to be perfect. Give yourself some grace and give me some as well. Always trying to make sure that whatever I do pluck out is going to blend. There's a few that are outside the line that I want. Making sure to identify those before I start plucking everything out of my face, and then of course extending that line up just a little bit as well. Here is a pair of tweezers from Sephora. Honestly, I got these like 20 years ago and they still work, so love that. I think they are Sephora brand, and at the time they were $4, so amazing that they still work for me. If you don't already have some tweezers already for your eyebrow maintenance, then definitely something you should invest in. Here I have some kitsch. I think they're either crocodile or alligator clips. They have teeth, they're a little bit flexible. I sped this up just to make sure that you are aware this is not a slow process. I want to say that this is 15 times the speed, but everything that is above that white line I am taking out, including, while we're doing that, we're just going to go ahead and clean up the brows. So above the brow, below the brow, and eventually we're going to make it to the point that we are also plucking everything in between the brows. My eyebrows at the very beginning, kind of towards my nose, the head of the brow as it's called, are not exactly equal, and that's okay. Whenever I use a brow product to kind of brush them up, it does help to minimize the differences between them, because as we've all heard, your eyebrows are sisters, not twins, or in this case maybe brothers instead of twins. Now, this is a process. In fact, I only included me plucking the right side because the entire left side took an additional, 20 minutes. This isn't an everyday thing, as I'm sure you can imagine. This is only occasionally, maybe 2 or 3 days before a big event, when I want to make sure that everything on camera looks really fantastic and low maintenance, or at least as low maintenance as possible. Whenever you have curly hair, it is, of course, its own battle to wrangle everything to make sure that it's fantastic in that regard. Now, since I've gone through and plucked the right hand side, this is kind of the after, even though, again, I'm aware that on the right hand side towards the bottom of the cheek, towards the corner of the mouth, it's not exactly as low as on the left hand side, but at least any of the differences can be minimized. Use that little transition to indicate that I went ahead and washed everything off the face to remove any excess hair as well as the eyeshadow line. Of course, while we're doing this grooming, I am going to go through to the bottom of the beard on the neck as well as shave my head and that sort of thing. Now, before I get to the beard trim itself, I do have to go ahead and brush out any knots as much as possible. With a curlier hair texture, it's going to be a bit more on the bushy side, but I want to make sure that as I'm stretching out the hair itself, I can get the most even shape. I just want a general U shape, like not any corners, like it looks like there's already one right there. I feel like there's a lot on the bottom underneath the chin that are quite a bit more grown out than others as well. I'm also going to take some time later to kind of blend the gray hair right here at my chin so that it has a little bit more of a cascading effect. As I turn around, just throw the comb on the ground. It's okay, it's all right. Now, I am drawing this a little bit forward because I don't know any technical terms when it comes to hair or beard trimming, but I feel as though whenever you're able to trim things further out of an angle than how they naturally lay with gravity and such and whatnot, it naturally gives you some layers. And so I wanted to make sure, I had to turn the hair so you could see exactly what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, but I wanted you to know. Of course, there's always going to be some flip out this left and right. As I see later on, there's going to be a little corner that I want to take out. But in general, I'm trying to keep the layers as even as possible when it comes to how I'm partitioning the hair on my face and then drawing it forward. Then I initially tried to cut with just the comb, like using the scissors on the comb. That wasn't working out for me. So I went through, and each individual section I'm now keeping it between my fingers. Little transition here, just to indicate that we have a different view. This part is also sped up. I'm essentially combing underneath every single time to make sure that I have as even of layers as possible when it comes to the various sections of the face. I don't know that there is a YouTube video on this. I'm sure there is, I just haven't watched it. This is my own version of how I like to maintain the general U shape of my beard, as well as trying to minimize or blend in the gray here at the chin. So I'm going to let this continue forward because it is quite a process. This is again something not that is done on a daily basis, but maybe, let's be extremely ambitious and say once a week. I would say even as infrequently as once a month. From this side view, you can see how I'm pulling it a little bit forward, which means that everything on the back side is going to be a little bit longer than whatever is in front. As I'm combing everything out as much as possible to get it as straight as possible, you can see the general U shape. If there's any corners, I want to take those out to make sure that there's not any sort of section that's just sticking out further than the others. But even as I'm doing the left-hand side of my face, you see how pulling forward on the sideburn to kind of make sure that it is longest in the back, shortest in the front. Continuing all the way around the beard, of course, everything is going to take a few revisions. This is the final comb through, I suppose, for the actual beard trim, making sure that it is the most U-shaped possible, fluffing out any of the excess. Don't get me wrong, I am going to do the mustache next, or moustache as I like to say, because I am a child at heart and that is who I am. When it comes to the different area of the face, this now being the mustache, I am going to use a tiny comb, this transition to indicate that I have a new view, not that you couldn't tell. This one is, when it comes to making sure that I have the most smooth, sort of blended area, I'm over directing here and then kind of freeform cutting with the scissors right directly above my lip. Later on, you will see that I'm going to lift up the hair so that there is a little bit more of a blend from top to bottom. Even after having done this process, there oftentimes are going to be some of the very lowest lying really right on top of the upper lip, which still need to be trimmed after this whenever they become less exposed by the fact that the hair above is a little bit more blended, not at a blunt end at the end of the top of the lip essentially. So this again, just lifting it up, making sure to get a blended look, layers. I also am trying to make sure that anything at the corners aren't going to be, invading my mouth anytime I'm trying to have a little snacky snack. A little bit of final cross-checking here at the end, making sure that anything that if it is over-directed towards the mouth, it's not going to be invading because that's not cute. We are going to transition here to another view. Everything outside of the neck is done, not styled of course, but I have everything trimmed how I like it. We're still going to reach underneath with those same crocodile clips to help hold everything up and out of the way while I'm using a clipper for the neck. I think that removing the neck is something that helps to make sure that there's not too much bulk. Don't get me wrong, I have a thick beard. I've been shaving since 6th grade, but this is a good way to give it that U shape underneath. Not that I would ever, well, I don't know. I can't say never in terms of putting my beard into a ponytail, right? But this is a good way to give everything nice and clean. It's going to have a nice even border at the bottom so that even though I have facial hair, it is more on the refined side. I can't tell you the brand of this because I don't know. I did get it at CVS maybe 20 years ago, but I love the small shape of it. It is great for, as you see here, around the ear as well. I initially was going to do my entire head with this, but I have a second larger width of a trimmer, so I went ahead and transitioned to that. Here, I might be doing something wrong. Someone who is a professional and licensed might be telling me not to go into the grain of the hair, but because there's so much more hair on the back, I wanted to make sure I got as close of a trim as possible before I actually hopped into the shower to shave everything to the skin. Keep in mind, if you are doing this and you leave all of your trimmings on the shower, whoever you live with is going to hate you. So I do have a vacuum whenever I'm done trimming. Granted, I also live alone, but whenever I'm done trimming, I make sure to vacuum everything up because I'm a kind person to myself as well as others. Don't want anyone to walk in and just see like what looks like a massacred, piglet or something on the ground. Um, Using the smaller one, it's also good for around the ears. At the corner, my beard connects into the hair, of course, just like everyone else's, I'm sure, but I don't want to have that corner. I'm also using the small blue trimmer to do my ears. Going from there, I wanted to slow this part down just a little bit. If you ever have a little bit of an excess of nose hair, just one little swoop each side. It is easy to take care of. Everyone will love you more for it, or if they never even know, that's even something that is acceptable as well. Knocking off the excess. Of course, at the end of my trim, I'm gonna hop in the shower and make sure everything is gone. Make sure you double check, just because we are fallible humans, as mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna take this mirror and swivel about and see that I have a giant patch of hair left right there. Yep, get to take care of that. Check your work. Always make sure that you are as prepared as possible. After this last transition, this is going to be the final view for today. Thank you so much for viewing and joining me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing other beard, clothing, as well as skincare products. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.